everyone, and welcome to episode 60 of the Dear Herbalist Podcast, titled 5 Tips to Help You Build an Herbal Protocol That Actually Works. Now, I know a lot of you have probably heard the word protocol a zillion times, so some of you may know what it is and some may not. A protocol is simply a plan on how your clients can address their particular health issues that they come to you about. So then why can't we just call it a treatment plan? Well, the word treatment plan, like I told you guys before in the red zone words, is reserved for the medical community. It's one of those words that I spoke about in previous podcasts about being a red zone word, meaning that we should avoid it. So we don't want to say treatment plan. We want to say protocol. Why is it important to create an herbal protocol? When you hear the word herbal protocol, just understand that it's not just for clinical herbalists. This could be something that you can use also at home for your children, for yourself, for your spouses. So don't think when you hear the word herbal protocol, it has to be something very formal. It's just a structured way to address the issues that you are dealing with. So I want to give you some tips today to understand what that structured way is and how you can do it for yourself and for your family. Creating an herbal protocol is very important because it personalizes the remedies. Okay, it personalizes the remedies that you use in order to address specific health issues. It also maximizes the benefits of the plants that you're using. It minimizes risk and it allows for regular monitoring and adjustments. So if you have a tailored plan, this will give you a map to kind of understand not only what's going on, but what you're going to do about it. And make sure that if you do have a client or a kid or a spouse or a parent, grandparent, whoever, it helps you to be able to monitor and adjust as needed. And you know exactly what you did, so you know what you need to monitor or what you need to adjust. It also helps whoever you're addressing to be able to understand and comply. They have a clear understanding of what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it, and that increases their ability to comply with it. Rather than if we as herbalists just start spitting stuff off to people, well, you need to do this, 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 and this, and you need to do this, but we don't sit down and explain to them what they're doing, what the issue is, what you've seen and why, then it's not sticking for them. So the compliance level will go down as opposed to go up because they have something in their hand that they can read. They know that you've done a full assessment to the best of your ability, right? You've taken into consideration all factors. And based on that, these are your recommendations. So this will lead to better health outcomes. Okay, when your client is compliant and they're doing as the protocol states, this will lead to a better health outcome. Now, you know I don't like to beat around the bush and drag things out, so let's get into the 5 tips. What I want you to do right now is grab your pen, grab your paper, notebook, back of a receipt. No, I'm just kidding. You may have more. You need more space than that, but just write down these tips, okay? Or you can hit me on the replay, listen to it again, however you want to do it. But let's dive into these 5 tips. Tip number 1, you want to do a client assessment, a very thorough client assessment. Now, what does this entail? Number 1, their medical history. You want to gather comprehensive information about the client's medical history. And this includes any medications they're taking, any other herbs they might be taking, any allergies, pre-existing conditions. You want to gather this information. This is going to help you in your overall assessment. Next, you want to gather their health goals. What is their health goals? Whether they're seeking general wellness, relief of symptoms, they want you to help them address a specific condition. What is it that they are looking for? And if they want to address, let's say, a health issue they might have, diabetes, heart disease, or whatever, then you want to ask them, do you want to be better? Do you want to address this issue? And I know people may listen to that and be like, well, duh, that's why they're over there asking you questions and all of that. Yeah, sometimes people just ask you questions just to ask, but in their mind, if they feel like what you're telling them is too much to do, or it's going to require too much of them and they really don't want to do it, they may not always tell you that. They may, oh, okay, yeah, no, that, all right, I heard you, yeah, But they really don't want to do all that it's going to take to address the issue. it's important that you ask this question because it will allow you as an herbalist to understand, first of all, who you're dealing with. Second of all, what are the chances that they are going to follow through with the protocol? Because make no mistake, if you are an herbalist and you have clients that you see, you're going to have a thorough assessment. You have to. It is a must. And so if you're taking all of this time, all of this effort, you're doing your research, you're learning about their history, you're learning about the plant, which plant could be used for this. This is time consuming. It's very time consuming, especially if you do it correctly. All right. So if it is this time consuming, then you want to make sure that the person that is sitting on the other side of you is willing to do the exact same amount or way more work than you are to get themselves better. And if they are not, it's okay. Give them the information and tell them to come back when they're ready. But do not feel like you have to be tugging and toiling with people. They have to be ready. That's another podcast for another day. But they have to be ready. If they are not, stop at this point. Give them some information. Tell them to come back when they're ready. They don't ever come back. It's on them. They come back. Okay, you know they're ready. But you have to be serious and you have to take this seriously because you don't want to hurt someone because they didn't comply or they threw something else in there and then they'll blame you, and you want someone that wants to take it seriously because you want it to be a positive experience all the way around. All right. So understand what their health goals are. The next thing is lifestyle factors. So you want to look at their diet. What are they eating? Do they exercise? What are their stress levels? What are their sleep patterns? Because all of these factors impact their health. Now, again, like I said, if you don't have a client, you're doing this for your children. You're doing this for your family member. You're doing this for whoever. But you still want to get this information that I'm giving to you. It does not need to be modified. Get it all. And all thy getting, get an understanding. Right. All right. So lifestyle factors, you need to know that. Why? Because when it comes to assessing diet, a lot of these disorders or diseases are due to nutrient deficiencies. And so if you see that they're eating a strong, healthy diet of junk, no vegetables, no nothing, there's no life in their food, then you'll be able to recommend that changes. And as you're researching these different disorders or diseases, and you determine that at the root cause of that is a nutrient deficiency, then you're better able to explain to your client, look, you're not even taking this. You're not getting vitamin D. You're not getting vitamin C, vitamin X, K, whatever. You're not getting any of this because all you're eating is sugar or junk. And so because of that, this is why you're deficient in this mineral. And because you're deficient in this mineral, this is why you have this dis-ease or imbalance in the body. So you're better able to explain that. Remember, with people, we cannot be general. We have to give them specifics. Even if it's our kids, explain it to them in a language they can understand, but they still need to know. Can't eat gummy bears. That's not a diet. Okay? All right, let's move on. Tip number 2. You want to understand the underlying issues. Okay? Understanding the underlying issues is a huge part of your protocol. So the first thing is, you're like, well, how do I do that? The first thing that you want to do is a root cause analysis. And that's where you look beyond the symptoms to identify potential root causes of these health issues. Now, this approach will allow you as an herbalist to systematically move from the symptoms that you can actually see to the underlying causes of the issue. And this will create a comprehensive picture of the client's health. And it will enable a more targeted and effective protocol tailored to addressing not just the symptoms, because we're not just symptoms based, but also focusing on the root causes of your client's health issues. So how can you find the root? Let me give you 3 simple steps, okay, in order to be able to find the root cause of an issue. The first thing, identify the symptoms as well as the location. So write down all the symptoms that your client or your family member may have. And then next to those symptoms, identify where in the body these symptoms are occurring. That's step number 1. Number 2, system and organ analysis. So you want to determine which body systems or organs are actually being affected. And then you want to identify what is the specific imbalance or dysfunction in these particular areas. And then 3, The root cause exploration. So investigate potential causes or contributing factors. All right. So consider lifestyle, environmental, and other internal factors that might be influencing this particular condition. Those are the 3 steps. All right. Now, also in understanding underlying health issues, okay, you want to have a holistic perspective. You want to consider how different body systems may be interconnected in contributing to the client's concerns. So an issue in one system could throw off another system, thus heightening the concerns in the body. So the next steps to also understanding the underlying issues is looking at the environmental factors. So you look at the potential environmental influences. This includes their health, any type of toxin exposure or seasonal changes. Do they live near a power plant somewhere? Just write down any type of environmental factors that they could be exposed to that could also cause health issues. Next, you want to look at any emotional or mental health issues. So assess the impact of stress in their life, emotions, and mental health on the particular physical symptoms that you identify. And again, this can also be for children. Children can experience stress. They can experience emotions. So we want to make sure that we pay attention to that. Talk to your kids. Next, you want to look at the nutritional status. So consider potential nutritional deficiencies or imbalances that might be contributing to the health issues. Like I explained before, certain diseases and disorders are a result of nutritional deficiencies. Your body doesn't have enough of that nutrient in order to be able to function and do what it needs to do. So this is the reason why nutrition is very important. And then the last thing to understanding the underlying issues is looking at the chronology, right, of the symptoms. So you want to understand basically the timeline and progression of symptoms to identify any potential triggers or patterns. That's very important because in every dis-ease and disorder, there is a pattern. So you want to be able to understand that. Tip number 3, once you have done your assessment, once you have a clear understanding of the issues, okay, the next step is to start selecting the herbs. What is your plan of action? In order to be able to select your herbs, these are the things that you need to know. First of all, the herb action. These refers to the specific physiological effects that herbs have on your body. So as soon as that herb hits your body, what is it doing in your system? So for example, herbs that are anti-inflammatory, which kind of relieve inflammation, diuretic herbs that help remove fluid, or sedatives that kind of help people calm down. These are herb actions. We as herbalists have to choose herbs with actions that directly address the client's symptoms or the underlying imbalances. You don't want herbs to just focus on the symptoms, okay? But you want to make sure that you're addressing also the underlying imbalances. So herbalists should choose herbs with actions that directly address the client's symptoms or their underlying imbalances. The next thing that you should consider when selecting herbs is the herb's energetics. This considers the overall effect an herb has on the body in terms of qualities like temperature. Is it warming or is it cooling? It also, energetics speaks to moisture. Is it drying or is it moistening? And tension. So is the energetic of the herb, is it more relaxing or is it stimulating? These things are important. And so you match these qualities to the client's constitution and the nature of their condition. So if they have a lot of heat in the body, too much heat, then you want to use herbs that are cooling in nature to kind of back down some of that heat. So this is the reason why you want to know that, okay? If you have, a lot of mucus and a whole bunch of moisture, then you want to use herbs that kind of help dry out some of that excess mucus. So think about it in terms of that. Now, the other thing you want to look at, as always, when considering herbs, is taking a holistic approach. So you have to consider the actions and the energetics so that you can create a more targeted and effective protocol. So for example, like I said before, you might choose a cooling anti-inflammatory herb for an inflamed hot condition, but always look at it holistically. Another thing that you'd need to consider is the client's constitution. So what is the client's overall energetic makeup? Do they have a tendency to be hot all the time or too cold? These can influence your herb selection so that you can make sure that you're picking herbs that will help them maintain balance. So let me give you an example of this. Let's say you have a client that has a tendency towards heat. They may often feel hot, have a flushed red complexion, and they can experience inflammatory condition. So they come to you and they say, I have, chronic headaches with a hot throbbing sensation. So you take that information and you know that the herb that you use has to be the opposite of the condition that's going on. So if there's a lot of heat in the body, well, we need to cool that down. So you look at cooling herbs. This will counteract the client's inherent heat and the hot nature of their headaches. You might choose cooling herbs such as peppermint or chamomile, right? And then to address the inflammation, you can use herbs with anti-inflammatory properties such as feverfew, right? Because these can help reduce the inflammation that is actually contributing to the person's headaches. Now, in terms of energetic balance, you might avoid hot herbs like ginger or cayenne because this obviously could exacerbate the client's heat condition. So if they have a lot of heat in the body, you don't want to say, hey, yeah, get you 2 tablespoons of cayenne pepper, a little salt, and go ahead and drink that. Like, come on. No. So that's just to kind of give you an example. Now, let's look at what we herbalists should also consider when selecting herbs. The other thing is synergistic combinations. Now, when you hear the word synergy, it basically means two opposite things, right, that come together that are able to work well together in perfect synergy. That's what we call it. So when you talk about synergistic combinations, when selecting herbs, you can often combine herbs with complementary actions and energetics to address multiple aspects of a condition. And this is often perfect because this is one of the ways that you can look at hitting this disorder or this dis-ease from multiple angles, thus ensuring that you're able to relieve the issue. Next, understanding a balancing act. Okay? Everything that we do, and I tell people that it's about balance. The body gets off balance, negative things occur. The body is in perfect balance, the body is functioning as it's supposed to. So everything we do, you have to look at it like it's a balancing act. The person gets imbalanced because of what? And what herb or what remedy could you use to bring that balance back even? That is how you have to look at it. So a lot of times herbs are often chosen to counteract imbalances. Like I said before, choosing a cooling herb for a hot condition. But then there are other times when herbs are chosen to support the body's natural processes because the body can heal itself. It just needs the proper condition. And when those conditions aren't met, it gets off balance. So then we have to use the herbs to fill in those gaps so that you can bring the body back to proper balance. And thus it can do what it needs to do and it can go on and work like it needs to eliminate issues, cleanse and purify the body, strengthen areas, repair, heal. It can do all of that. Now, the other thing when considering herbs, you want to look at safety and efficacy. So you want to choose herbs that are known to be safe and effective for the intended use. Consider potential interactions as well as potential side effects. And I know people don't think that herbs can have side effects, but they can. And it's just because of the nature of the plant. So don't think you could just pop in all kind of plants. It's fine, it's great. There's a lot of factors that come into play when you talk about side effects. Could be dosage, could be a lot of different things. But certain herbs can have side effects. So you want to know what those herbs are and make sure that you make your client aware of those things. You also want to look at the quality and the source of the herbs when you're selecting herbs. Quality and source matters. It's better, 100% better, if you know how to forage. You can pick the herb yourself at the right time, pick the right part of the plant in the right season. That's the best because you're getting it at an optimal time when it's most potent. But if you so happen to have to order it online or order it from a shop or anywhere else, then you want to make sure the quality is there because that too impacts the ability of the herb to work or not. So check the quality and also check the source. Because to be honest, there's some people out here, it's capitalistic society. So some people out here lying, telling you that's oregano and it's something else just to make a buck. So you want to be careful. And especially if you are using it for clients, there's liability there. Or if you're using it for your family, there's safety issues there, especially if the herb quality is trash, So you want to be careful of that. You want to look at reputable suppliers. So source herbs from trusted suppliers to make sure that the herbs are quality and pure. That's very important. Then you also want to look at, in terms of your herbs, and this is the last part of that, is standardization. So you want to prefer standardized herbal products for consistent dosages of active ingredients. So standardized meaning it's consistent. It is the exact same formula each and every time, the exact same amount every time I purchase it from you. It's not, oh girl, I ran out of chamomile, so I had to throw me something else in there. Nah, because if your first formula worked, that's the one I want. I don't want no, I ran out of, and I had to throw something in here and substitute. Is it better? Is it more potent? Because that particular remedy worked with my client. I don't know if this one's going to work or not. So this is the reason why you got to be careful. And if you're doing it at home, it's the same thing. This is how you can measure results. If you make sure that the products that you create or that some that you buy, they are the exact same all the way throughout. The dosages are consistent for the active ingredients. That is very important when it comes to herb. Tip number 4, dosage and formulation. So the first thing you want to look at is proper dosage, the amount of the herbal remedy that you plan to recommend. Determine correct dosages based on your clients' or family members' needs and the herb's potency. If it's a very, very strong herb, you probably don't need to have the client take that much, no matter if they're even asking for it. You are the herbalist. You have done the work. You've done the research. You know that this particular herb could speed up the heart rate at the speed of light, and higher dosages is going to cause that. You know that. The other person, they just want to get well as quick as possible, taking the shortest route as possible. So you can't let them influence you to hurry up. Yeah, let me just give high doses of this. Or you gave me this particular herbal syrup, and I know you only told me to take a tablespoon, but I really wanted to hurry up and get it over with, so I done took half the bottle. Now my stomach hurts, my head's wheezy, I threw up, So you want to get the proper dosage. Make sure you take in consideration factors such as their weight and these other type of things. These are very important, especially for children. Are they seniors? Are they pregnant? There's many factors that come into play when you're talking about dosage. So take all of that into consideration when you're talking about the amount of the herbal formula that you want to give. Then the next thing is formulation. So you want to choose the most appropriate form. Should your herbal remedies be given in teas, tinctures, capsules? Should you have only one herb, or should you have a combination of herbs? Some herbs work together best. Some work by themselves just fine. So you need to know that. So why is this important? Choosing the right form of herbs and deciding whether to choose one herb or a mix of herbs is important because it helps make sure that the herbs work as well as possible in the body, and it makes it easier for people to actually take the herbs as recommended. The way you administer your herbal remedy, meaning the form of it, is it a tea, a tincture, or a capsule? This affects how well the body can absorb and use the herb and how easy it is for the person to take the herb. These are very important. Now, if you're using one herb or a combination of herbs, this affects how strong the overall effect of the formula is, as well as how the herbs work together to help the person's specific health issue. So by choosing carefully, you can create remedies that are both effective and easy for people to actually use. And finally, herbalists must consider the concept of ADME, which is absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. This process talks about looking at what happens with the herb once it hits the body, once it hits your system, what happens from that point forward. And so this is a very important process for herbalists to understand because it plays a huge role in determining how much of the herb that you need to recommend to your clients, or even considering for your family members exactly how much that of the herb that you should use, because considering how it's absorbed, how it's distributed, how it's metabolized, and how it's excreted, this lets you know about how long is this herb going to sit into the body. If it's something that is fast acting or something that is very strong and potent, you don't want it sitting in there long, you just want it to hit those parts that it needs to and get on out, then you need to know the ADME. If you have an herb that needs to sit in there a little bit longer in order for it to actually address the issue, then you also need to consider ADME. How is this herb that you are recommending being absorbed, distributed, metabolized, and excreted from the body? If it happens too fast, if you have lower dosage amounts, then that will let you know that you need to increase your dosage. So take those things into consideration. And my last and final tip, monitoring and adjustments. This is tip number 5. So follow up. You need to regularly monitor the client's response to the herbal protocol. Or again, if you're at home, regularly monitor your family or your child or someone, whoever you've given your herbal remedy to, regularly monitor it. You should follow up regularly to make sure that your protocol is working. Now, for client's sake, your initial follow-up should be within 2 to 4 weeks after starting your herbal protocol. This will allow for any early assessment of the client's response to your herbal protocol, as well as any immediate adjustments that are needed, especially if there's a reaction or something that may occur as a result of your herbal remedy. Now, for chronic conditions, okay, this is if you need more follow-ups. You want to follow up every 4 to 6 weeks to monitor the progress. Also, consider making any necessary adjustments and ensure long-term effectiveness and safety of your herbal protocols. For acute conditions, you want to follow up a little bit more frequent, potentially within the first few days to a week. And this is to quickly address any changes in symptoms or side effects. So typically, if some of the symptoms have gone, you have a remedy that addresses specifically the symptoms, you may not need it as long or as much. Maybe the body responded a little quicker than you thought, or it's lagging and it needs a little bit more pick-me-up. So probably within a few days to a week for acute conditions, okay, you want to follow up so that you can quickly address any concerns. Now, regular monitoring helps ensure that herbal protocols are effective as well as safe. And you want to make sure that you allow for timely adjustments based on the client's response and evolving health needs. So with monitoring and making adjustments, you want to be mindful of these particular things. 1, side effects and interactions. So make sure that you pay attention to potential side effects or interactions with any other medications. Another reason to follow up is because, like I told you guys in previous podcasts, people are not always honest. They're not going to tell you that they paired your herbal protocol with something else or with another pharmaceutical medication. They're not taking into consideration the chemistry of both processes, but you are. And so you understand that if that particular chemical interacts with this particular chemical, it can be a problem. So sometimes your clients will not be honest with you, just like they're not honest with their doctors and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm taking. So regular follow-up is important for this reason. But you have to be vigilant as an herbalist about any potential side effects or interactions with other medications, and make sure that you educate your clients about it. Now, once you're aware of these things, you have to be prepared to adapt. Be prepared to adjust your protocol based on how your client is progressing as well as their feedback. All right. If you say, hey, you need to take a half a cup of the most bitterest herb that you can find, 9 times out of 10, you might want to try to find another way to administer that particular herb so that your client can still reap the benefits from it, but they don't have to chug down a whole half a cup of syrup. And really, they shouldn't be doing that anyway, but you get what I'm saying. All right. So tonight we have discussed the importance of creating personalized herbal protocols tailored to each of your client or family members' unique health needs. We've also talked about maximizing the benefits of herbs while minimizing risk. And we covered essential steps, starting with a thorough client assessment to identify health goals and lifestyle factors. Understanding underlying issues through root cause analysis helps create a comprehensive picture of health. We also emphasize the significance of selecting the right herbs based on their actions and energetics, ensuring that they actually align with the client's constitution. Proper dosage and formulation are very important for effectiveness, and regular monitoring allows for timely adjustments to your protocol. Remember, adaptability is key to achieving the best health outcomes. I hope that these tips that I've given you today empower you on your herbal journey as an herbalist, as a plant enthusiast, as a mother, as a wife, as a son, as a husband, as a person, Hopefully you enjoyed tonight. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. Like I told you guys before, let's build a community. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my social media platforms at The Demystified Herbalist. And until next time, family, I'm out.